So the wonderful thing about speaking in a format like this is that I can trust that everything I won't have time to say has already been said by my colleagues and friends or will be said during the day. I'm interested in historic events that withdraw themselves from being mastered by dominant discourses of history. Such discourses, invested in distancing past events from the present moment, aim to organize and reorganize, diffuse and at times disappear events from a collective contemporary imagination. It is a challenging task to face the reality of certain pasts within the midst of the present moment, without getting stuck in a form of nostalgic or traumatized remembrance that pulls one's own thinking back into that past, and therefore removes oneself as much from the present as the history one tries to address. Instead of doing the important work to engage and recognize the past within not only the present moment, but within ourselves within that present moment. It is here where the events of the past linger, where they flash up at the instant before us, as Walter Benjamin described so poignantly. For Benjamin, this moment in the present is that of danger. For Cornel West, or as Cornel West described it a few days ago in the Great Hall at Cooper Union, the moment of the catastrophic, in which we need to seize hold of such memory, of such knowledge as individuals, not to get paralyzed by the recognition of the catastrophic, but to remain able to act within it. So the questions in my work have been, how can we recognize things that have been rendered as unspeakable, as non-rememberable, within a contemporary public imagination? How can we recognize such past in the present, or better, how can we recognize the past in us in the present? How can we endure and engage actively the knowledge that such past offers to us? And then once recognized, how can such knowledge manifest itself within us as the agents of the now? So one could say that my work looks at the past as it exists right here around us, in the reality of a present in which something happened. The trial of Adolf Eichmann opened on April 11, 1961 in Jerusalem. Kidnapped in Argentina and brought undercover to Israel, Eichmann was put on trial and convicted for his actions as the head of the Jewish affairs in the Gestapo. The political theorist and philosopher Hannah Arendt went to Jerusalem on her own initiative to cover the proceedings of the trial for the New Yorker magazine. She published her articles in the infamous book Eichmann in Jerusalem in 1962. Rereading Hannah Arendt's book, I followed her reflections and representations of the 13 months of this historical trial in which the courtroom in Jerusalem, framed by the rules of law, had become, through television broadcast, a worldwide observed stage for a multitude of struggles for justice, for truth, and for history. Unlike any other court case before, the trial of Adolf Eichmann publicly debated difficult and important, and still today, more than relevant questions about the complicated relationship of law and obedience, about the responsibility of an individual who follows orders in the name of the state, and about the necessity to be able to judge right from wrong, even if there seems to exist an overwhelming consensus in either way. My work, Criminal Case 4061, stages 6 characters: accused, defense, judge, prosecution, audience, reporter, in an abstracted court scene. Enacting a script based on the actual transcripts of the trial, Hannah Arendt's report, as well as the prosecutor's Gideon Hauser's later report, Justice in Jerusalem, and the expansive international news coverage of the trial. Yet instead of reenacting a comprehensive linear scene, in my work, one performer, Wu Ingrid Zhang, enacts all characters in dialogue towards themselves in an attempt to reflect the different questions raised by the trial within only one body. Here, the installation view of the piece. Different than a traumatic reliving of the past, which collapses time, the body of the performer lets the time of the past break into the time of the present. Time exists next to time, cohabiting as a thought construct in which the performer reflects the question at stake, now and then. I would call this reflection the rethinking through a form of ever-reoccurring narration, an active form of remembrance. A remembrance of time past that always already understands itself equivalent to the act of resistance in time present.